Hi friends, today I'm presenting a new battery and I can tell you that this one, I really like it, and on top of being a new battery, it's also a new brand. I've had this battery for a year now and I don't know why I forgot to do a presentation about it. So I think my partner must be a little bit annoyed because he still sent me a battery and I forgot to make the video. And yet, as I said, this battery has many advantages that I'm going to list for you now. So first of all, what brand is it? The brand is called AllPowers. It's yet another brand coming from Asia, just for a change, even though in terms of design, you really get the impression you're looking at something that feels very American. I don't know why. Plus, well, the name is AllPowers. Maybe that's what makes me think of America. And in many aspects and little details, you get a sense of quality, like it's really something that's not going to let you down at the first sign of trouble of wind or at the first power surge, let's say, since it's a battery. This model, it's the R2500. Now, the 2500 doesn't refer to the total capacity because it's closer to 2000 than 2500, but rather to the number of watts output it can deliver, the total number of watts it can output, and even that it can go up to 4,000. So already from a design perspective, I have to say this battery, I don't know why, but I already like it. It's not in the vertical format like you often see. This one is actually more horizontal. That can be an advantage when you're in a camper van, because under certain benches, I know there are products from a competing brand that I just couldn't fit. I had to put them in a position that wasn't intended because otherwise I couldn't close the camper van bench, for example, and leave my battery underneath. So it always ended up in a spot where it was visible, which isn't the case with the AllPowers. Since it's lower, it can fit under things like this. Of course, it's wider, right? The height has been traded for the width. So I think it has a nice design, well finished. There are lots of things I like, such as the two handles that don't even look like handles. The handles are integrated into the design. They're built into the cooling system, and you really have something to lift the battery with, which is not a bad thing, When it weighs close to 30 kilograms, 29 kilograms on paper, in reality, it actually feels a bit heavier, especially when you have to carry it up 3 flights of stairs without an elevator in the apartment where we live. I also like this battery for other reasons, for some details, like, as I mentioned earlier, I like the battery for these visual details. Right on the front panel, I'm going to turn it on. There we go. On the front, it has numerous ports. But what's really interesting, as you can see, is that all the ports are hidden. Every port has a silicone cover that prevents oxidation. I have another brand that didn't include this feature. On the balcony, and all the front ports are oxidized. If you live in a region with a lot of humidity, this battery will help prevent the ports from oxidizing too quickly. And that, I think, is great. Plus, every time it's silicone, you can see that it fits well into the port. You can feel that there's a seal. Now, it's not waterproof, of course, but these are still products that are supposed to be, especially this kind of product that can be used as a professional product. You need to be sure that it's reliable. And if you ever need to take it to work sites and all that, even just to protect it from dust, I really think that's great. You don't find that everywhere. Often you find covers that don't isolate each socket individually, but rather a group of sockets at the same time. That means when you open it, there's one where you'll plug in the plug. Well, that one will be protected, but the others won't. Here, there's really a cover to protect almost every socket, except when you have, for example, USB ports. In that case, there isn't a cover for each USB, but for the 4 USB ports, there are 2 covers because each USB-C is protected. And that might seem like nothing, but I think it's really great. It's one of the reasons why I love this battery. So on the front, we end up with 4 200 to 230 volts outlets. Why do I always say 220? I'm old school. It used to be 220 before. Well, 230 volts. We have 4 USB ports that can deliver between 12 and 18 watts. And we have 2 USB-C ports that only deliver, well, I want to say just 100 watts. I'm still going to check because I have a version that's a year old. Maybe there have been some updates in the meantime. No, I don't think so. It says 200 watts. So I don't know if that's 200 watts in total, but on my version it says 100 watts. I also noticed that on the website, I don't see the covers. So it's currently it's freaking me out. There are photos with covers, photos without covers. Anyway, we have the cigarette lighter socket and we have the 12 volt 10 amp power outlets. I like this battery also for its display. It doesn't take up too much space. So yes, indeed, you need to have good eyesight, but I prefer that the space is used for the outlets rather than for the screen. There are some brands where the screen is really, really big, and as a result, you lose space on the front panel. I think that nowadays, especially since batteries can be connected to an app, well, this information can be accessed directly on your phone. So I also like these batteries for the quality of the screen. I actually find the software, well, once again, I find it classy, really classy. It's not overdone. It's still got that feeling. This battery really gives an impression of sturdiness, of seriousness. On the side, you'll find ports to connect other modules, meaning other batteries. Not exactly the same, but complementary batteries, which makes it a versatile battery that you can use both, as I told you, outdoors, provided you have strong arms to keep lifting 30 kilograms all the time, or indoors by connecting it with other complementary batteries. So that's another significant advantage. Besides being quite sturdy, or at least appearing robust, it's also remarkably versatile. Finally, on the other side, there's the dedicated port to connect solar panels and the essential power input for the machine itself. Similarly, I was indeed able to thoroughly test this battery for a full year because it's a battery that allowed me to charge my electric scooters. It never faltered. It was close to the balcony or even actually on the balcony. It never faltered there, whereas, as I mentioned, another one unfortunately had its ports get a bit oxidized. In testing, you'll see it in the video. I plugged in an iPad, 2 power banks, an electric scooter. Then, in addition to the scooter, I plugged in a drone and also connected all of that simultaneously, including a hairdryer. And for at least 2 minutes, it didn't falter. So if it can run a 2000 watt hairdryer, it can also run, for example, a drill. There's no problem with that. And it didn't falter. So at that level, I wasn't really surprised because at least on paper, it's capable of delivering. It's capable of delivering 2500. I stopped at 2200. I couldn't find any more devices to plug in on top of what I had already plugged in to try to trip it. But that's not really the goal, to try to trip it. But anyway, in daily life, you don't say to yourself, hey, I'm going to try to trip my battery. You just think, well, I'm going to plug in a device and hope it charges. So that's the case. As usual, I have a promo code for this battery since the promo codes, the names change all the time. The promo code for this battery and for the entire AllPowers store is Vantour. You will also have the link that leads to the written article, the blog post about this device, where you'll find tables, lots of information, photos, and well, the test of the in written format. So, dear friends, among the different battery brands I've been able to test, this one, it's one of my favorites. Honestly, I have nothing more to gain by telling you this. It's a brand. I don't understand why we don't hear more about it. In France, we always hear about the same brands. This one deserves credit for having advantages that you won't find elsewhere. So I can only encourage you to go check out their website with sites available in different languages. Apparently, they deliver all over Europe. So don't hesitate. As for me, thank you for watching this review. Feel free to subscribe. There's a complete and comprehensive playlist of all the product tests that I personally use and rely on throughout the entire year.